There would be different cases here. There might be people who probably before marriage were on fire and somehow it's gone cold. Probably he's not stepping up to your expectations as the priest in the home. And there might be the case of someone who probably was not as on fire before marriage, okay, and you want to see that be the case now. In saying this, first I would want to say no pressure, because sometimes as women we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and this is where sometimes our expectations become unrealistic. Now, if the case was that he was never like that, if you begin to nag, begin to complain, you know, that would only lead to more frustration on your part, and you would not see results. Rather, you'll be pushing him away, which would also lead to emotional distance. Okay, because at that point, he would no longer begin to enjoy. He would just be feeling nagged. Why am I even here? She doesn't think I'm good enough. Okay, but the thing also is that sometimes he might still be on fire, maybe not as hot as you expect, and what you don't realize is that you're beginning to compare him with some other people. Now you might say, oh, I don't compare him outright, but sometimes it comes out in the way you talk. You might be saying, oh, you know, maybe something happens and you say, oh, I'll call dad to pray about this with me. Oh, I called my brother. You know, that's you somehow giving off that thing of, you're not as prayerful as my brother. You're not as prayerful as my father. You know, and men, they would tell you, men are very territorial. They like to protect their territory. So if you are bringing your dad into the marriage, something in him, his guard will be up. Okay, and there's a likelihood some persons might react in different ways. A certain man may look at that and feel, okay, I'll just do it for her. Okay, I'll try to give in. Another man might look at it and say, oh no, if you're going to be like that, you go meet your father to keep praying for you. And that would not give you the result you want. So yes, he's not stepping up to his responsibilities. It's not written anywhere that you cannot call the children probably to have the family devotion together. But you want him in it. So what the case might be would be, okay, how about talking to him? And in this case, it matters how you bring up the issue. You could also approach it like, oh, you know, it would be really nice if they saw you do this, because we want them to turn out like this. And this is why, first, we would always push that families have family vision. When there's a vision for the family, everyone is brought into it. Now, with that vision, probably you may have been talking about it as a couple before you had children. Now the children are here, you begin to remind him nicely, you know, we talked about this. This is what we want. This is our goal for our children. This is the vision we want for our children. I think it would be nice if we modeled that to them together, you know, with that kind of approach. And then don't forget that it will be important for you to be patient. Now, if he used to be like that and he's suddenly gone cold, yes, you can't just throw him into it. But then another question I want you to think about is, what happened? Why would a man who used to be very fervent suddenly go cold? Because when we probe, we might get answers we'll be surprised and alarmed about. An example might be that probably he was trusting God for something and that didn't happen. In a case like that, some people feel very disappointed. Why would God? I mean, after all these years, I trusted him. You know, for example, he was trusting God for employment in his place of work, and they promoted someone who probably was undeserving. He could sit back and think, what's the point? They know me as a Christian, they know my walk with God, and this did not happen. So in a case like that, his relationship, his trust in God may have been impacted. So it's in probing, that's you nicely, you know, asking him, oh, I've noticed you no longer, your choice of words are just as important. I notice you no longer pray as much as you used to. Um, you don't think, probably in discussing that, he might also come to the point of awareness that, oh, something is not right here, okay? And that might be you also helping him, nudging him towards working on his relationship more with God. So it matters how you go about it. Probe to know why that is the case. Be patient when you talk about it. Give some time to see change happen, and ultimately pray for him. Pray for him. You want to see this happen in your marriage. It is just important that as a family, you have that spiritual united front. So you pray for him in no time. And you know, sometimes when we talk about prayer, we now think it's like a cliche, or you pray for him. No, and there's something about praying for somebody. You know, like Stormy Omwatian was saying in her book, Lord, Change Me. In praying for your spouse, you're praying for yourself as well, because the change starts with you. You'll be surprised. Maybe by the time you start praying for him, your disposition towards him would have softened. That annoyance, that resentment you used to have towards him would have gone down, and you'd be better disposed to talking to him. So those are some things I think we need to consider. I like the example you gave, which is about, you know, talking to somebody who he respects, to establish that relationship and then talk with him. You know, just by the side though, sometimes when we bring up this issue, for men, you need to look for, you might say, okay, I've spoken to somebody who's talked with him and it didn't work. There's something called the law of respect. John Maxwell would often talk about that. Now, men would often listen to those they respect. So in a case like this, you might want to talk to somebody you know he listens to, someone he respects, whose opinions mean something to him. You might want to speak to the person and say, oh, how about this? But it has to be someone who is trusted, so it doesn't work against the relationship in the long run. Well, you need to earn the right for your husband to listen to you. Now, when I started, I talked about nagging not having a good effect, because that could just make him resent you even more and push you away. Okay, so another thing may be undue criticism. Probably you always criticize something he does. In that case, whatever you're saying, even though you're saying with good intentions, he might just feel, oh no, yes, there's got to be criticism in there. There's got to be comparison in there. She doesn't see good in anything I do. Okay, so why would he prefer other people's suggestions? Probably they make him feel like his suggestions are valued, his ideas are great. How do you react to his ideas? You know, that's very critical. Do you see, you know, sometimes, yes, this is a problem. It's a problem in the relationship, but there's got to be something good he's doing. There's got to be other good things about him. He's got to have other strengths. How about, you know, coming from that area? Okay, oh, I like this about you. Keep saying it. Talk about, you know, the good things he does. You know, when you're on phone, let him hear you talk about the good things he does to people that matter in your lives. You know, let him hear you. Oh, we're talking with a friend the other day, and his wife walked in. I mean, this is a woman he had always been complaining about. And she walked in and she said, oh, your friend is such a good man. And we were like, oh, yes, because I kind of understood what she was trying to do. This is me turning a new leaf. Okay, he complains about me. He says, oh, I never say anything good about him. And to him, he was kind of surprised. Even though he was on a video call, he didn't realize when he turned and looked at her like that. So, do you sing his praise? Do you magnify his strength? Because the truth is that, yes, there's no one without fault, even you. So if that's his area of weakness, something he's not stepping up to as a man, you might want to sing his praise in other areas. And then, you know, with that also, maybe play the sandwich method. You do praise, you sandwich the problem in there, and then you finish up with praise. So, oh, I like this thing you do. oh, but you know, it would also be nice if the children saw you do this, you know, like, how about we, okay, if it's not convenient for you for us to pray in the morning, we can pray before we go to sleep at night, and then, you know, and then you talk about something good, again, finish off with something good. You know, that's the sandwich approach as well. So you might want to explore that too. So if he's preferring the suggestions of others to yours, you need to earn it now. You need to start doing something different. You need to start talking about him, massage him with praise, let him know you value him, let him know his ideas are worth much to you. Okay, turn a new leaf. I think you've touched on the first thing, which is you carrying on. Okay, you can't just not lead, because in that case it means you both are exposed, the entire family is exposed. So you carry on while you seek to ensure that you bring him on board. Now, in bringing him on board, I talked about talking to him, okay, maybe in a nice way, letting him know that it would be nice if you know, took on this responsibility. Now, some men may not like that, so you might want to also devise other means, which could also be play some tapes in the house, messages, if you know, messages where such things have been talked about, okay, on the importance of the man taking the lead in the home as the priest in the home. You can, you know, when he's around, okay, you just play something around, you know, and carry on with what you're doing. Turn up the volume a bit. He will take it in. That's not you doing the work, you know, that's you indirectly bringing the message to him. More like, okay, this is from another person talking about why it is important for a man, you know, to take the lead. Some men may like it, because some men like that thing about you wanting them to take the role, the masculine role in the relationship, even regarding spiritual matters. Okay, so if that's his disposition, good and fine, that would work with you talking about it, you know. But do you know that the problem of some men may be that they don't even know how? So you may want to help them, excuse me. You may want to help them, okay, by also introducing them to, you know, messages, books that might help, okay, because you'll be surprised that some men, yes, it looks like they're aloof, but you'll be surprised that by the time you talked about it, the problem might be that they don't even know what to do. So why don't you just help and get those books, get it as a birthday present, and say, oh, this is why I got you. You know, and if he's not the type who even likes reading, how about you come up with another thing about, okay, how about we read 20 minutes before we sleep, okay? And while lying there, you can read out, and then on your own, while you talk about, oh, I found this really interesting, what do you think? And he will talk about it. That's you also pulling him out, okay? You're creating an atmosphere for that conversation to take place if you're uncomfortable introducing it yourself. So you can use books. You can go search for books about Maximizing Your Manhood by Miles Monroe. Okay, you bring that kind of book. Oh, it's like a masculine thing, and you're like, oh, I want to understand you better. Can we read together 20 minutes, you know, before we sleep? You'll be surprised. He might ask you, okay, let's make it 30, you know, and gradually he'll pick the message. You know the principle, windows and doors, okay? So when you open a window, you shut a door. When you open a window, you shut a door. By the time you start talking to someone, and you know, before even going there, sometimes when they talk about external relationship, we forget that external relationship could also be your job. Okay, when that job begins to take a lot of time off, you know, family, you just, all your attention, focus is given to that job. Okay, so back to windows and doors. When you open a window, you will shut a door. You cannot be talking. We talked on there was a video we did on our YouTube channel, and am I having an emotional affair without knowing it? Okay, because these things creep on you, the emotions. Now you start talking with someone and you don't realize that in no time you start missing this person. Okay, you no longer begin to enjoy quality time with your husband, with your spouse, because there's someone you're talking to. You look forward to seeing this person, you know. And when I read this book, Affair Proof Your Marriage, the author was talking about a certain couple he worked with, and he said this man had this appointment, nothing sexual, it was just purely emotional. Okay, and he would have this appointment at 2 p.m. every day with the woman. They had to talk, you know, at 2 p.m. every day. Whatever he was doing at 2 p.m., he would have to stop it to go spend some time talking with this person. Okay, so this emotional, a lot of times couples don't venture out to say, oh, okay, I want to have an affair with someone. It just happens. So when that happens, oftentimes, first advice, you need to cut communication link with this person, reduce communication. The time, and that's why you see office affairs on the increase. By the time you're at work, you spend a lot of time at work, you're talking with this person. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're not having enough attention at home, okay, you dress up, hubby doesn't recognize you dressed up, you make new hair, he doesn't acknowledge it, and then you go to work and your colleague sees you walking and is like, oh, stunning, oh, you look dashing, you know. And gradually these are emotions, you don't prepare for them, they creep on you and creep up on you, and you're like, oh, okay, and you start looking forward to this person's compliments. Okay, and in no time, okay, oh, can we go for lunch? You know, and gradually. So it's just good to check these things before they grow into something else. Okay, so you need to be hard on yourself, cut communication with this person, minimize. Okay, because sometimes, okay, if it's like in the office place, the workplace, it might be difficult for you to just, pull the plug and cut it, because you need to have contact with this person. But maybe how about starting with, oh, okay, it's lunchtime. Oh, you go on. Or you go to work with your own lunch and stop going out on lunch with this person. You know, that's you being deliberate about minimizing contact with this person. There's something else I was going to say that just slipped my mind. But yes, we would need to check these things carefully before they grow into monsters. Their emotions, you can't, and emotion is just emotion, energy in motion. It's moving, you know, and it just takes you around. And then there's another thing, sin grows in secrecy. So and that's why we encourage couples to be vulnerable with each other. When you get to that point where you're vulnerable, you can share anything. You can say to your spouse, I think I'm becoming fond of this person. And this can happen in a healthy atmosphere. And your spouse will be able to help you. Once it's out in the open, you know your spouse knows. There's nothing, that thing brewing will be cut immediately, you know. So we need to help ourselves. You know, so it's very sad when you see people struggling with this, and yes, the explanation would be that there's nothing sexual, we're not meeting, but anything that takes the place of your spouse is now a third party. That shouldn't be allowed. Yeah. Soul ties, it's just like you said, at the solical level. We're tripartite in our nature. Okay, I am a spirit, I have a soul, and I live in a body. Okay, and when we talk about soul ties, that's the place of your emotions, your will. So there's a lot going on there. Now you see people who have had some deep sexual connections with people, some deep connections, okay, with people. I'm trying not to just make it strictly sexual, because there are people who may not have gone through the acts that would still have such deep ties with people, and they carry these people around in their emotions, you know, wherever you're going. And you find some people would begin to compare their spouses with these people, And for it also affects singles, because sometimes they will keep pitching this person with someone who, like a potential suitor, a potential spouse. You know, everything this person does, this person before you does, you would x-ray in your mind, you know, comparing this person to the other person. Oh, how would he be? How would he? And for some people, it goes as far as when they're having sex with their spouses. Okay, they have this other person in mind, you know, during the act. Now, there's the part of spiritually breaking out of this. Okay, now, but practical steps. There was a lady who said to me, she struggled with this so much. She wanted to be free of it. It was just like that stronghold that wouldn't just go. And one day, an inspiration came on her. She started this thing about during lovemaking. Yes, sometimes she would just let her husband have this thing, and then she would have this time where she prays for him during the act. You know, sex is spiritual. If couples would use it well, there's so much we can get out of it. And she said she realized that by the time she started praying for her husband, intentionally praying for him, it took her mind off this person, you know, and gradually, until the day, one day she just realized, oh, I no longer think about him when we're having sex. Is that powerful? You know, you're having a special moment with your spouse and you're thinking about another individual. It's really strong. So it's something, as much as possible, when we speak with singles, we say just avoid it. Avoid that such entanglements. It's not right. It has its own impact on your mind.